Welcome to the Builders Podcast, episode 120, completing the transition from Trello to ClickUp for agency project management, part 2. Before we jump into this episode, please subscribe to this podcast, hit that notification bell if you're on YouTube, and after a listen, please give us a thumbs up, like, and share if we've earned it. With your help, we can reach more people and deliver these valuable from the trenches lessons to those that need it. Enjoy the episode. Welcome to another of the Builders. Today's going to be a great episode. This is a part 2 for the project management situation over here, the project management solution we're using as an agency, and what the decision was and how that went and how it's going. Before I dig into that, this is a solo episode, but I have 3 guests lined up in the next couple weeks to record. So there should be probably the next 3 at least will be guest episodes, but I'm going to try to have more. I have to motivate myself because it's very easy for me because I'm able to do solo and guests. And this is by design, so I don't, because I run a busy agency. We're crazy, crazy busy. So I've designed the podcast in a way where there's no pressure of me having to get guests and be on this treadmill forever. But I've been in this long string of solos, and I'm looking forward to get back at guests and get back at guests, having guests, and doing a little more hunting. We have been hunting a little bit. Good stuff coming. ClickUp. So go back to the last episode, part 1. Hope might have a link here somewhere, or links back. We'll see if we are skilled enough to do that on YouTube. You're probably not going to be able to do it if you're listening to this on Spotify or something. But sorry about that. But it's out there, and it's actually probably, what should I do? Matt, you know what you should do? You should tell them the name of the episode and then episode number so they can go find it. That's brilliant. Now I'm talking to myself. I'm not just talking to bots. I'm talking to myself. So the episode was, drum roll, please. The episode was, this is why it's good to have a good website. I can go back and see here. The episode, episode 116. Switching project management tools, navigating the transition in your agency. And I went into detail about how I was thinking about it at that time. Now, this is back in April, mid-April, April 17th, it was released. And this is, Alexa, what's today's date?
Today's Friday, May 12th.
It's May 12th. Thank you. And so it's not quite a month. But we already went through with this. But back then, in that episode, I talked about my thought process in what the steps I would take to make the decision, because we hadn't made the decision yet. Even though in my mind I kind of had made the decision, I was going through a process with my team and thinking it fully through before making this transition. Now, what we were on before was Trello. Now, as I said in that episode, I had made a decision about 2 years ago to be an Atlassian shop. Whatever that means. It means Trello, Confluence for documentation, and then we use Bitbucket already. So having everything in one company where things like integrate together really nicely and all that stuff. So I was really locked into it. I made my decision. Before that, I think I was using Asana. I'd used Asana for years. Even when I was solo, I would just use that. And Asana was okay, but I ended up just going with Trello for reasons we won't get into today, if I can even remember. But I ended up at Trello. And I felt really confident in that decision because it's a popular solution, right? Everyone knows what Trello is, I would think. Everyone I know knows. It's just always been out there, but it's something that it's a solution I kind of had tried various times in the past, or I worked with companies that used it. But I really only dabbled in it. I really never used it fully. And when I started using it a couple of years ago, I had a smaller team. In fact, I had no team. Oh, well, it was probably after my first couple of hires. And we were doing fine. And we were able to keep things pretty condensed in there, like to like one or a few boards. And it was okay for a little while. But we've experienced a lot of growth. And not only in the number of clients and number of strategic partners, but also in the team itself. And kind of our team is split into different factions. And so that magnified what we were doing. And particularly in the last 6 months or so, maybe even just only a few months ago, I made a decision to, it's probably, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 months. It doesn't matter. I made a decision that we had to break things out even into more and more boards individually, because we would have like these general boards with all this stuff going on and lots of stuff going on in these boards. Multiple projects and client stuff all together and mixed up. But maybe we had some independent boards that were particular to larger projects and stuff, but I realized that it was getting too hard to keep track of all that. So like, well, what a great idea. I'll just, these larger projects, and each agency can have their own board, and we'll just work and we'll know where we are. And that started to work until it didn't. Until it scaled up to a point where we have dozens of boards, and now you have to keep track of what's all in these other boards. They're all in different places. So it's like going to multiple project management systems. Each one is independent. There's some queues within Trello, like a little dot shows up or a little red something, a little tag if there's something new in a card. There's notifications, there's things like that. But then there's no high level views. And I had no good way to keep track of it, on a higher level, as I'm the leader of the team, of the teams. And even my project, bringing a project manager in, I thought that might help. And so, and then they do have views. It's more, I think it's a newer feature. They had views. I'm like, this is great. Okay, I can create views. It's kind of limited, but like, okay, well, maybe I can get the gist of things and keep track of things and be able to filter by member, which is really important. I want to know what Janine's doing. I want to know what Krista's doing. I want to know, see everything they're working on and what the status of those things are. And then I ran into a limitation that I couldn't overcome. They have a limit of 20 boards in any given view. And I'm like, that can't be right. And so I went to, they have like somewhere, I don't know where it is. They have like one of these question or kind of request boards where people vote on things and stuff, or you can comment on people if somebody already had that idea. And I found one on this very problem, and several other agencies said, why is this limit here? We need to see more, or we need to be able to see everything. And it wasn't possible. And then somebody from the company had piped in and said something about the performance. It really slowed things down if they allowed that. Okay, I don't want to go into all the issues I was having. I'm trying to recap this, but this was the biggest thing for me, though. Especially if we do continue to grow and scale. If I'm having problems now, keeping track of things. And it was like their homepage was just, they used some kind of algorithm to show you the things that were important, but then you have notifications, and then you had these views that weren't complete. So we had to kind of trick it into, I was trying to group things then, and it was just a nightmare to try to keep track of everything. And I think it just started to dawn on me that, Trello isn't designed for agencies like us with dozens of clients and projects and things going on and in a larger team. It's designed there's probably a use case for it out there. If somebody's only going to stick to a few boards, or they have one board, they're a smaller shop or whatever, it probably would work. Or maybe agency that has more help in that regard to keep track of things. I don't know, but it wasn't working for our model and what we were doing and how we were scaling things. So with all that, I started to think about other solutions. And somebody had brought up ClickUp, and I checked it out. And I'm like, well, this is a possibility. We could try this. ClickUp turns out is similar to like Asana, or we tried Monday.com for a while, but we were trying to use it with Trello, the whole thing. That didn't work either. But so it's similar to those, kind of those type of interfaces, but a little bit better, structured a little bit better. So I made that decision. And again, you can go back to the first part and what my thought process was and how I was going to make this decision with the help of my team, not just making an executive decision that we're going to go and then tomorrow we're there. Then doesn't work anymore. But I needed to solve this problem because it was for me, not only do I got to keep track of my own stuff, because I still do stuff. I still do tasks. I still have my own things I got going on. Even keeping track of this podcast, I got to have that in Trello. But it was starting to get, I felt like I was starting to miss things. I wasn't keeping up with things, whatever. So we're going to check out ClickUp, and here's your answer. We did make the decision to do it, and we did make the move. And we made the move last weekend. And I gave it a week. I thought I'd give it a little bit longer, but I already think I'm in a good place to discuss about how well it's doing after the first week here. Which is, you can just say it's amazing in comparison. So, first of all, how did the move go? Let's talk about that. Now, one of the things I really liked about the idea of moving from Trello to ClickUp was, by the way, I'll compare a little bit more to like things it's doing compared to Trello, where it's improved things as well. But anyway, so ClickUp. So one of the things it has is it does have ability to import from various other systems. Very smart. So it could make importing from Trello a little easier. And it certainly did. But Matt just had a couple issues in that regard. I had to test out, which was actually good in a way, because I was able to test out customer support too. That's really important, right? With any solution, you gotta know that there's good support channels. And actually, they have the usual stuff you see in a lot of more modern interfaces where there's a chat right there. Trello doesn't have that. At least I haven't found it. It might be in there. I was able to use that. But one of the first things I ran into was actually my first import failed completely. I did it overnight. So I was going to do it on a weekend. I had the whole weekend set aside for this. And I was actually going to do it on noon on Friday. And then, of course, within the day before, I had two meetings set. I had a 2-hour meeting with a partner and an hour meeting with the client that afternoon. So I already got a late start. But that evening I decided, okay, I'm going to do the import and I'll let it run. So by Saturday morning, it's good to go. And I can hit the ground running and get this all finished, get it all finished and set up and ready for the team on Monday morning. So I let it run. And I woke up early for some reason, and I had to check right away, and it had failed. Now, we have thousands of tasks because I wanted to pull in. I had the option to pull in all our archived tasks and stuff. So I thought, well, that's great because then we can have that in this new system and be searchable. So we haven't lost anything. We lost a few things because not everything was compatible. So there's certain attachments and things that looks like it kind of errored out, but is what it is. Minor. We still have it. If we need something over there, we can get it. But it errored out halfway through, a few thousand in, and I'm like, what the heck? So one and talk to customer support. I ended up doing another import. And I did it in a simpler way. Like I was trying to import everything into and put it into different buckets, right? Or into different folders and structure it a little bit more as the boards were brought in. But I ended up just putting it all in one folder or one space. I think that's spaces, multiple spaces. But I just brought it all into one space. I'm like, let's keep it simple. Let's not confuse this thing. And it worked. And so that was great. But the other major issue that I had was I made a mistake with one of the emails. So what you do when you bring it in, you're mapping everything, right? This is where I want everything to go. And then you map, because you don't want to lose any of the assignments and all that and comments. And so I had the week before made sure everybody had gotten in there as either guests or members, and so that they were all existed. And even if they didn't accept the invite, I could still map their emails to where they're supposed to go. And I got one wrong. I made a mistake. And I didn't 100% verify here. This was on me. And so I had to, first of all, I tried going to customer support, and being a web development guy, I'm like, all you have to do is just go in a database and just, do a search and replace. No. Probably not in a large system like this. Probably a terribly bad idea. It would have been cool if they could actually help me, but they were talking to me, giving me crazy ideas like re-importing and then merging duplicates, but not with thousands of cards. So, but what I was able to do is actually recreate that email temporarily and get the access, and then change the email. And it was all good. We figured out a workaround. So that was like the first day I figured that out, and we worked through that. But other than that, it actually went relatively smoothly. Like everything got imported. Now, I got everything imported, and I'm going to start moving things around into various spaces. So I have a dev space, which is obviously our main, most important space, because we do mostly dev. But then I have a marketing space for my internal marketing team, SEO and social and stuff I do in there. This podcast has its own board folder now. And then I have, what else? Marketing. What do I have? I'm drawing a blank. Marketing, project management, of course. And then I have team members boards. So one of the things I like to have is each member has their own board, like their personal board. And I even have my own personal board. It's nice for like personal tasks and stuff. So, and those are little private areas that people can do their own thing. So started moving that all around. And basically how it pulled it in is each board became a folder. So in ClickUp, there's spaces, folders, and then board. Then your list. They call them lists, but lists can be just a list. It can be basically list equals whatever you want that view to look like. So a list is a Kanban board, just a list, or it can be a calendar. It can be docs, I guess, are a list. I don't know if docs are a list. I don't know. There's different things you can put in folders. So you can put docs in folders. There's all kinds of crazy things you can do. It's very, very flexible. But essentially, it created a folder for each client and each project. But what I ended up doing is one of the really interesting things I couldn't do in Trello was actually structure a little bit better. So we had a maintenance board in Trello where we do all our maintenance work. Well, now I could have a maintenance folder, and under that I have like we would have our routines, and then we'd have other things. Let's say things in the backlog or other tasks we do in maintenance. Now I can have two different boards under the same folder. It's nice and organized. The other thing that I can do is some of our clients have multiple websites. I can have different boards for each of those websites if I need to. Another really, really great thing that organizes things way better is each agency. And So in Trello, I would have an agency board, like a general agency board. And then if they have 3 more, 4, whatever, projects going right now, I would have a different board for that, but it's all like in the same list. No nesting or anything in Trello. Here, I have an agency level folder, and under there I have a board that's like general. I call it just like the main board. And then I have, if they have larger projects, I have a board for each of those under that agency. So it's just like a little folder structure. So I can keep track of the agencies that have whatever their projects are. It's all under that one board, nice and neat. It also allows you to create documentation on any of those levels, from everything, the everything views to the spaces, to the boards, to the anything. So on like the agency folders, I have a documentation view with all our documentation related to that agency. So there's agency level stuff we need to know, like things about this agency that my team needs to know. And then under that, per project, we can have that project's documentation. Under that, per task, you can have documentation. You can attach documents to tasks in an organized way, or tag them and group them, whatever you want to do. It's beautiful. So that's the other thing we're doing. We're bringing in all our documentation. We're kind of figuring out where like our general documentation is going right now. We have it on the everything board. My project manager is helping me do this. Thank you, Donna. But it's everything's on the everything view. But we could have you could put it anywhere and you can move it later. But it's having a documentation in context from general all the way down to the very detailed thing is beautiful. You could have documents attached to subtasks. It's just this beautiful thing. Can you tell I love it so far? So let's see. I have a list here because I want to make sure I touch on as much of the awesomeness that we're experiencing. So yeah, so the structure. So one of the things that I did need to do, and this is crazy. So the last couple of years in Trello, you set up boards. I tried to have templates, and I would copy those templates. But over time, those templates would change, or how we wanted to do things, or restructure things, and maybe with one client you add an extra list, an extra column, Kanban column, or whatever you want to call it. So kind of each board was a little bit different. I tried to keep things very common, like the to do is all named the same, in progress, in review, or review QA. Those type of things I tried to keep as tight as possible, but it turns out not that well. Because when I pulled it in and I looked at, so in ClickUp, you can look at the everything view or the folder view. And if you have all different statuses, AKA rows, if you're in Kanban, if you have a lot of different ones and they're not matching up, they're going to be duplicates and all this extra. And so actually one of the first things I did, I took a good part of my Saturday thinking this through and restructuring it all myself, was coming up with a common structure for everything, something that would work for everything. And I also introduced something I hadn't had before, is more like an actual dedicated backlog. So I have a backlog, then I have like an on hold blocked status. I have a to-do progress, and just kind of going through in progress, review QA, which is the same status, ready, done, and then closed. But I have ready, but it's not going to be ready. Isn't useful in every situation with every board, but we're keeping it common across all of them. So you can collapse them as well and stuff if you need to, but it needs to be there. It keeps this common structure. So when I look, the further I go up the chain and look at the common structure, I still only I see a very common structure, or like I don't have to scroll through lots of different statuses and stuff. So if that makes sense. visually in your head. But so that was one of the major things that I did have to do. I realized how unstructured we were. And so I really had to zero in on that. So again, a backlog is one. So these, again, they're kind of called statuses. And then how you design it is kind of unique in ClickUp. I won't get into every detail here, but anyway, so I have a backlog. Then we have on hold blocked. I consider those both the same. Sometimes you have things that get stuck or are delayed. Then you have your normal to do and your normal in progress. We always have had those. Then we have a review QA. So review might be me or my project manager or a QA analyst that's for them, right? And then we have a ready. If there's something we're maybe had in staging first, now it's ready to deploy. That's where it lands. That's same for like our maintenance stuff. If we're testing updates and it gets to ready and then it deploys and it goes to done and then done, it goes to closed. So there's a reason we have done. It's something to do with the reporting and stuff, but it works really, really well. Really, really well. I have to be able to have a similar structure for everything makes it a lot simpler, easier to understand. It's not confusing. I think it's great for the team too. I'm sure they're happy about that as well. I can kind of sense it just because I'm in there too. Like I use these boards every day as well. So if I'm having a better time, hopefully they are too. But that was super important. And with that comes the actual views. Let's talk a minute about that. So in ClickUp, of course, you have this home, which is kind of your personal space, but then you have views. You can look at it like if I have, let's say, one of those agencies and we have four projects going for an agency, I can look in the folder view and see every single one of them, or I can go to each individual project. But I can also look at everything. So I'll give you an example of a use case for that. So I have stand-ups every week with individuals or teams throughout the week. And sometimes it's individuals, sometimes it's multiple. Well, I had, just as one example, I have a dev/designer. I have somebody that actually does both. It's a beautiful thing. And before we hopped on that call, I went to the everything view. You're able to filter by assignee. So I was able to filter by her and just see her stuff. And then collapse everything, all the statuses I didn't need to see. And I was literally able to just almost instantly see to-do, inbox, review, like what she's working on right now. I can't do that easily in Trello. I couldn't. I mean, I could try to use those views, but I couldn't see every board. And this, number one, saved me so much time. And I even saw, and this is one of the crazy things coming from Trello, I was finding tasks the first few days I was using this, and in this instance with her, I'm like, what is this task? Why is she still assigned to this task? I was finding tasks she was assigned to that was like older tasks. She didn't need to be assigned to that task anymore. Somebody else had that, or was, in this other status that she didn't need to worry about. So I was able to sit down and move a couple things around and do that. And then have a conversation about what she's working on. It was beautiful. Like that was the most important thing that I was missing with Trello. And one of the things that motivated me most to try something else is just being able to easily see those views and just drill down to exactly what I want to see. So it was awesome. And it was a great stand-up meeting. One of the things, now these are kind of not in any particular order. It was kind of like I was just brain dumping into my notes here. The other thing I like about ClickUp is I like that. Sorry. I like that The simple hierarchy that's there. It is not complicated. You have a space, you have a folder, and you have your lists or your docs or your whatever under that folder. You can organize it however you want. It's beautiful. And so I love the simplicity of it. And to be able, and again, back to the views, to be able to, from the whatever level you're at, see what's going on. Even on a higher level, even, there's other ways to filter things. I could look at a specific, statuses. I can, there's all kinds of things like statuses, tags, priorities. If I just want to look at particular priorities, date related stuff, everything you can imagine. So that's something I really like. The home is actually pretty cool. So I have to look at it from my own perspective as well. So every single day in my position, what I do, my role in my own agency is I'm still very, very involved. I'm at a size, and I don't know if this will ever change, that I'm pretty involved with projects. I have a project manager that helps me with projects and does her thing. She's going to be in charge of her own projects and this and that and the other thing. But I still get tagged on a lot of stuff. And I still am doing my own tasks and my own things. I'm able to go to this home and be able to see mentions. So anything that I'm mentioned in, it's kind of like notifications in Trello, but you can see everything you're mentioned in, so you can just work your way through it. Oh, this is the other thing. Oh my gosh, I didn't have this down here. So in Trello, notifications, great way to see what's going on. But what happens when you click a notification in Trello? It goes off to it opens a new tab, or it goes to that board. And it opens it up, and then you've lost the notifications. You don't know where you are, right? And you got to find your way back, and then it removes the notification, and this whole thing. And like I said, I think in part one, like if there are little red bubbles that says something happened in a Trello card, don't close it, because you'll never see it again. It'll just be part of all the other cards. But in ClickUp, when I click one of the mentions, which is notifications, actually notifications, they have notifications too, but in mentions, wherever I mention, it opens it right there. And this is everywhere. Like even in notifications, I think it'll open it up right there. So it's not taking you out of context. So I can, as I work my way through those notifications, it's opening up the task right there. I can deal with whatever I'm doing, answer it, handle it, whatever, and then close that out, right, go back to notifications. Beautiful. Doesn't take me out of context. So that saves time. It's simple. Love it. And if I want to go to that board, or if I need to, I can. There's a breadcrumb. I can just go right to wherever I want, whatever level. I love it. Man, I've only been using it for a week. I feel like I've been using it for months. It's just been so amazing. Okay, so, and by the way, I'm not an affiliate or anything, right? I'm not an affiliate. This is real experience, and I'm excited about it because it really is having a really positive impact on my agency, and my life is much less stress now. Hopefully everybody else is, you want to have tools that are easy to use and make your team's jobs easier. And this is definitely doing that. Some of the other things that I like, on tasks, tasks are pretty cool. One of the things that you can do is you can have subtasks. And in Trello, you can't really have subtasks, can you? You can create checklists. You can have custom fields. You can have some of that stuff, but there's no really subtasks. And so now you have this ability to, you can have to-do lists, but they can be subtasks. They can be checklists. Checklists are simpler. Subtasks are like have all the functionality of a regular task. So it has its own window and everything you can open up, and you can do all kinds of things, attach, like I said, attach docs and do whatever you want, all the commenting under there. So you have that little bit more hierarchy there where you can do a lot more there. The other thing too, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit here, but also besides subtasks is also you can have nested comments. You can't do that in Trello. Trello is just one straight comment thread, and which makes it very, very difficult. But here you can have these different threads and stuff. So that's really cool. You can assign comments too, which is very cool. I don't know if I got the use case for that 100%. I tried doing it a few times. I think in those cases, I'm like, well, this might have been better as a subtask, but playing with all the features. The attaching docs thing though is, let me just emphasize that is a beautiful thing. Having all the documentation in line with in contextual, like based on, whether it's all the agency's documents on the agency folder or all the project, you got a particular project, and on that project, you have all the documents right there in that board. But you can also do that with tasks. And I this morning or last night, I'm scoping out this project and I'm working with my team to come up with an estimate for this really complex project. it's a tool we're building for somebody, for a manufacturer, and there's a lot of moving parts. Well, now normally in the past I would have just done a Google Doc, probably that would have worked fine, but in this case I was able to just attach, and I could. You can do that as well. There's integrations with Dropbox and all this, but in this case, what I did is I just created a doc right there in line, and I had a nice doc, and I actually created basically a development brief of everything, all the stuff related to this. So then I could do a video over it and talk to my team about it and all this stuff so we can get a quote this morning. That was excellent, and so. That's another really great thing to be able to, even on that level, do, to be able to create docs. The thing with docs too, and with everything, is the templating is awesome. You can create templates for docs. So I can have a development brief template and just drop it right in, apply it. You can have templates for everything, including tasks. So yeah, that's another huge benefit. Makes it easy. And so instead of having board templates, instead of having like if you want to have the same Kanban board, the way I copied that across all of our boards. So once I settled on what I wanted for a structure, all I did is I applied a template. There's templates for those Kanban boards, so you could actually have multiple different types, and they have some default ones. And you apply it, and if it doesn't match up, it pops up a window so you can map it. So if you had something that wasn't mapping, it's going to give you an opportunity to move those cards to where you want to move them. Oh my gosh, they have thought of everything. I don't know who these people are. I gotta get them on this podcast someday. Anyway, so really great stuff. The folder structures, the project, having all the docs in different levels, the templates. You can also do reoccurring. Now, let me just pause here. Many of these things you may have done with Trello, but a lot of things in Trello don't scale monetarily. You have to. They have things called power-ups, where basically extensions, and you go out and maybe it's third party or whatever, and you can add them. But if you got a lot of boards, the costs add up quickly. If you got a lot of users, so it could be charging you by board, it could be charging you by user, and you lose complete track and control over how much you're actually paying for this tool, because all this stuff just adds up. As you have a larger and larger team, everything that you add that's user based is just magnified. And but here, so far, I haven't seen anything where I've needed to even work. Like, it has more than we had before, and everything we wanted. So recurring is one of those things. Maintenance. So our maintenance side of our business is reoccurring. So everything is on a schedule. So we will update websites, which means the plugins. We might do other types of reviews and things and QA through that process. It gets completed and then it gets rescheduled in, let's say, 2 weeks or whatever. And now we have this reoccurring card system built in. It's something you could kind of do in Trello. It wasn't perfect. This one's a little bit better for different reasons, but it's not extra. I don't have to install something else and enable it, and it's just there. It's just there. Yeah, I think that covers a lot of what I wanted to cover. You can tell that I like it, right? My review is very positive, 5 stars out of 5. The priorities, they have priorities, which is normal, but they have these default priorities. I didn't even have to worry about change. I don't even know if you can. Maybe you probably can, right? But they have like low, normal, high, urgent. We always had low, normal, high. Didn't ever have urgent, but we do now. I think it's probably a good idea to have urgent. But most things were just normal, and then if they were high priority, they'd just be high. But yeah, we have that. That was all built in. Didn't need to worry about that. My goodness. Oh, the relationships is a cool thing. I haven't really used that yet too much, but you can have relationships between tasks and have dependencies and stuff. The permissions are pretty cool, easy to figure out. Also, I'm saving money more than I had anticipated. I was actually willing to pay for every single user. And I thought I did at first until I learned that guests were free. What? And I realized that there were team members that could be guests. And so that actually cut my costs down a little bit. See, in Trello, if you have a guest, you can have a guest to one board. In ClickUp, you can have a guest on as many boards as you want. Now, they don't get all the functionality. They don't see actually the full structure of everything. But I can give them, so it's kind of weird, but they can't have access to a space. They can only have access to folders. But all my stuff is in folders, effectively. So they just get access to things in folders. And everything under that. And so everything they need. And I said, if there's something you're missing, let me know. I'm happy to add you as members, but they haven't complained and they're able to comment. They're able to do everything they need to do, see documentation, all that stuff. So it's good. So I saved a few bucks. So not only did I save on having to have extra extensions and power-ups, but I'm saving on not having to pay for guests. Beautiful thing. So I don't know. I don't know if there's, what else I need to talk about. There's other things like there's an area called Pulse where you can kind of see who's working on what and notifications panel, all this stuff. Going back to part 1, what I talked about, which I kind of reiterated on today because it was such a huge deal for me to get to see what's going on every day and for me to go through and see all the projects and all the mentions and all the stuff going on. Was this disjointed, I guess is a good word for it, experience in Trello. You had a home page that had some algorithm that would show you, which basically just showed you what was due. If something's overdue, that's going to be on top. If it's a high priority, it's probably going to be on top. Those type of things. I don't even know if it did that. And then you had the notifications, which took you out of context all the time. Then you had these views that were half baked. And you couldn't use them fully, and it also was pretty limited what you could do there. I couldn't, and even within that functionality, is very buggy. It would bug out all the time, and it wouldn't save things. You try clicking things, and it wouldn't change the view. It wasn't easy to switch between. Don't use it. Whatever. Try not to use it. I won't go on and on about that. But now, in this new system, I'm able to, this homepage, being able to see the mentions. Actually, you can see agenda and calendar, and you can see trending cards. You can actually create a lineup, which is kind of cool. You can grab cards. Like, let's say there's a really important card you want to keep track of. You can create a lineup. You can create multiple lineups. What is this? I don't know what this is. Oh, you could add to lineup. Never mind. Yeah, so you can have a lineup. So if there's really critical cards you want to watch, or I think in this case, it's not even cards. It's a card. I don't think you can follow a whole, I don't know what you can do. I'm still learning. But doing that and seeing my to-dos every day are just in the same view. So the mentions in the same view, your calendar, your lineup, your trending, and then you can just drill down into where you need to go. And then if I'm talking to somebody, I want to see what they're working on. Things embed. The editor is pretty good in terms of, although I hit enter probably a half a dozen times this week and commented before I was ready to hit enter. Or you were like, it's kind of like blocks. They're like comment blocks or like line, it's like block editing. That's what I'm trying to get at. But if you hit enter, it just posts it. There's other systems that are similar out there like that. I do the same. So you gotta hit like shift. Is that what it is? I do it so often I don't even think about it. But overall, really, really great experience. I hope you found this relatively interesting. There's a lot of detail, and I'm going on about it. And it's not even a visual thing. I'm not showing you, what it is. I just wanted to talk to it. I think, and let's go kind of take ourselves out of the tools for a minute. You're running an agency. Your agency is growing, and you sometimes have to make decisions for the betterment of all, right? Yourself, but also your team and also your clients. And sometimes you have to make really hard decisions. That week, my project manager actually did thank you, Donna, if you're listening to this. She did a lot of legwork for me to really test out ClickUp and figure it out herself and go through a lot of stuff. And she did a little demo for me. So that was the first step, really. It was getting her in there because she helps me with projects and stuff. And then I got in there and I tested it out. And then I got the team involved, the rest of the team involved, and got any more feedback I could get. And many of my team members actually had already used it, so it was no big deal to even pick up and learn it. But it's so intuitive that, it wasn't difficult. Pretty much hit the ground running Monday morning, minus the little email issue. Somebody couldn't have access. But, and I had done what I had done is I had just kept them up to date with things, fed them. ClickUp actually has some great videos and stuff like a learning center. So some beginner videos just to get them used to that. But then I also created my own. Actually, it was like a 30-minute video, a Loom video of me just walking through it and how I had structured everything. And that was the main reason for that, because I changed how Kanban was laid out and stuff and how things were working. I had to speak to all that. So I did a lot of work in that week building up to this. It was like a week of really trying it out and making the decision, and then a week for my team to get in there and get added, invited, and used to the system, and then pulling the trigger. But going back to kind of high level, if you like, I'm pretty hard-headed when it comes to decisions. Sometimes I make a decision and I've made the decision, we're going to make this work, right? We're going to find every way possible to make this work. Even if I have to throw bodies at it, if I have to figure out workarounds to make this work. And part of that is too, once you get integrated into something, it's really hard. Like the bigger your I can't even imagine if we were, 10 times the size we are, or 100 times. It's not a small thing making a move like this. and bringing everybody along for that ride. But even for me, it's like, yeah, but it was going to be a big move. It was an important move. But you can't think about the challenge of that only. And you got to think about what it's solving for you. What is your major pain point right now? And my team, for the most part, were fine with Trello. But not always. When I had brought my QA person on board, he was very confused. He didn't know what was where, and how to keep track of all this stuff. So it's difficult for the team members also to keep track and see everything they're seeing. I had a team member who said, if you don't tag me on stuff, I don't see it, because she liked to depend on email notifications more. So the only time you get an email notification is if you're tagged in a comment or a description or whatever. So there were issues like that. But my biggest thing was, from a pure management perspective, in my position where I'm running a team of, I got 10 people in there doing stuff at all times, every day, throughout the day. And everything's happening. Every day I have to go in there and see what's going on and keep things moving, get people what they want. If there's a project going on, or, somebody needs an asset they're missing, or they need access to something, or they have questions, or they're delivering something, or I'm checking in on something that I need to keep going, and see where we're at, and then communicate, to the clients, back to the team, and do all of this stuff every single day. Well, if I'm having a hard time doing that, that's going to have ripple effects on everything, and I talk about ripple effects a lot. But you have an issue, it may not even seem like a big issue, but it can have this long-term ripple effect, and you start to lose track of things. And it was kind of like last summer before I got Donna, my project manager, I had reached a point where I was starting to lose control of some things. And there were some projects that were really dragging on me and just, that, I wouldn't say distracting, because it sounds negative, but it was like I couldn't focus on these larger rocks and relationships, because this particular couple projects were very demanding in my attention, and there was a lot of issues there. So I knew I needed help, and I was starting to fall behind. And one of the signals was, I had clients, I do not like this. I don't like clients following up with me. Matt, just checking in with you where you're at, we're still waiting on this. I don't want that. I want to be ahead of that. I want to be the guy, hey, or at least being able to be in a place where I can update them and let them know that, okay, we're falling a little bit behind on this. It's coming, whatever. So I brought her on. And she helped, and she took those things off my plate, and those got handled, and along with other things, and we made some changes that helped. Now, this was another point where I'm starting to not be able to keep track of everything going on across dozens of boards and projects and team members. And so this happened. And so I had to, before it got more out of control, before our team grew more, before, we got that next big agency relationship on board, or whatever's going to happen in the next year, coming years, before that, because that's just going to, if I'm struggling now, it's just going to get worse. And you can't sit in that. You got to find solutions. And I did, for a long time, try to figure out how to make Trello work. How can I do this? Because I didn't want to move. But I'm glad I did. And I had to make that hard decision. So sometimes when you're in business, you're running an agency, whatever you're doing, you have to make those hard decisions. Yes, it's going to be painful. It's not going to be easy. We're still actually in it. We're still moving documentation. We had a lot of documentation in Confluence, and we have to move that all in here. Donna's doing some of it. I'll be doing some of it. I might get some help from somebody else on our team. And that's going to be weeks for us to do all that, because it's not as simple as just like this was an import. Documentation is not going to import that nicely, because they're two different editors, and so you got to format things, do things differently as you bring it in. So big pain. But in the end, to have everything, that's huge. To have all the documentation and everything in this one tool. I can't. I've already talked about that. In context documentation. Man, so worth it. I'm really looking forward. This first week went so smoothly. Just being able to see everything and work my way through those mentions every day, work my way through the notifications, just, eyeball everything. And we also have Slack. I even kind of improved that a little bit. I've improved how my team reports to me in there, because they give me daily reports of what they did, like bullets of what they did, if there's roadblocks. And so I'm able to, that's the first thing I do every day. I go in there and I'm able to see high level what they all worked on, all the activity. And if they got immediate questions or something's urgent that I need to handle, I find out right away in the morning. And then I work my way into ClickUp to my homepage and work on all that. So it's a beautiful thing. Project management, there's a lot of challenges, especially as you grow. And what works today for you, this is the last lesson I'll tell you today. What works for you today, that's great. That's great. 2 years ago, Trello was working for me. It's the same with a lot of things. The solution you have today is just fine. And for your size, maybe you're working solo or just have a few employees and contractors, whatever. But if you start to grow, you're going to realize there's certain tools where you thought they were great and they don't scale. And then you have to make those. Now, hopefully, I think ClickUp it feels like, from what I see, that it's going to scale really well, because everything we need is baked into this. I can't imagine anything else what we need, and the way it's structured so simply and everything. If I had some advice for Trello, you know what I would do? Trello, if you're listening to this, Atlassian folks, I love you. We had a good relationship. I actually enjoyed. There was a lot of things I enjoyed about it. I actually really didn't mind Confluence, even though it was most complicated permissions and setup. Okay, we won't go there. But you know what I'd do with Trello? This is what I would do if I was in charge. Start over. just build it from the ground up. Learn from ClickUp, Monday.com, and Asana. Some great things here. You don't have to make it super complicated. You can keep it as simple. Actually, one of the great things about Trello is it is simple, right? But I think that can be solved through just making it, everything optional, right? And you can hide things and all that. But start with the ground up. Make it as responsive and modern as tools like ClickUp are. And then if they can have a import tool, you own it. You own the tool. So you can easily import, click of a button, all your people import map perfectly into this new system. And then you make that legacy, and then eventually you just phase it out. That's what I would do. All right, guys. This was a fun one. Thanks for following me on this techie journey. It was a lot of fun. Here's to a new era in project management over here, and enjoy the guests coming up. Bunch of them coming up. We're gonna have a lot of fun, some great conversations. Until next time, take care. That's all for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed that. Again, please subscribe if you haven't already, and give us a thumbs up if we deserve it. If you want to comment on this episode's page, provide me with requests on topics for future episodes, or inquire about being a guest, please find your way to thebuilders.fm. You can contact me there or add a comment under these show notes. Now a word from our sponsor, my agency, Unified Web Design. We build custom websites, features, we maintain websites, we work with agencies to fulfill their web design and development needs, and more. If you are interested in our services or are looking for an agency to work with as a partner to build awesome sites for your clients, feel free to reach out to me at unifiedwebdesign.com. There's a handy contact me link at the top. Fill out that form and it will open a ticket, and that ticket will find its way to me. Thanks for joining me today. We'll see you next time.